two, one, one, two, one, two, one, one, two.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast Artists Under Construction. I'm Neon Tom.
And I am Moves Johnson. Thank you guys for tuning in. We are the podcast that lets you examine your career, your passions, your love, and get better at it.
Yeah, and today on the podcast, we have Olivia Brown, our special guest and co-host from the band Junestone. Also plays with Justin McHugh, one of our other guests on this podcast.
Hi, Olivia.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you
welcome
for
to the
coming
show.
on,
Thank you
Olivia.
very much for joining us. Yeah.
Yo, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no
Anytime.
problem.
So do you want to maybe give people a little bit of an introduction for yourself, for people who don't know you or haven't heard of you yet? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's Olivia. I'm a songwriter and a bass player from Hamilton, Ontario.
Yeah.
I've been playing bass for maybe 10 years now, possibly 11. I can't really remember. And I started playing music when I was a kid. I have been writing songs since I've been about 4 years old. I
Really?
found a couple of them, like a few a few years ago. Like one of them my mom had laminated, and it's pretty hilarious. It just says, "Mother, be glad." And it's like 4 notes that I like drew on like lined staff paper I wrote out.
That's pretty cool.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
That-
so I didn't really know I wanted to be a songwriter, but I guess when I was a kid, I did.
It just sort of comes, like you don't realize that like the thing you enjoy is what you want to keep doing. You know what I mean? It's you just do it because it's fun.
Exactly. Yeah, there's some really hilarious songs. Like there's one, it's like Hoppin' Frogs. It's
Nice.
like mostly middle C. And yeah,
Ding,
anyway,
ding, ding.
that's my origin story. I'm a pretty normal person. I just like happen to play music. So that's about it.
But you're doing music. I mean, you gig around Toronto and all around Ontario. You've been fairly active in the music community. At least the last time I met you in person, you were very active. And like, if I may say, you shred on the bass. You are a killer bass player.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice. I think I'm really lucky because my main instrument is electric bass and I love to sing. So both of those things a lot of bands need. So before COVID happened, there were just lots of people that, Olivia, can you play bass at my gig? Or can you play bass in my band? Or can you record this? And I'm just like, yes, I will, because that's the most fun thing ever.
That's awesome.
You were like
To
a
just
session
play with other
musician
people.
before, like you just started doing like session work right out the gate. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was just like, it's all kind of like, I guess people that listen to pop music would be like, oh, that's just some low-key recording stuff. But I think for everyone I recorded with, it was really meaningful, and for me too. So I have just this like really cool collection of fun songs I've made with a bunch of different friends.
That's awesome.
It's great.
Yeah.
So we know that you're in Junestone, but it sounds like you got a lot of different side projects and maybe some other stuff in the pipeline coming out. Is there any other stuff you can tell us that you're involved with?
Yeah, I'll tell you about a couple. So one is a band called Fake Shape.
Cool.
So this is a really sweet band. We've put out a couple singles. They're on Spotify. One of them is called It's Easy. There's another one called Headspace.
Cool.
They're
Nice.
really, really fun.
Are you singing on those as well?
Yeah. Maybe backups, but yeah, definitely backups. I couldn't remember for a second. And yeah, they have some more tracks to release. I'm not sure when that will happen, but they're really, really fun songs. I have also been playing prog covers with my friends in this band called Bypass Off. And I don't know when we're going to play a gig again, but we play like Genesis tracks, Rush, King Crimson, some Pink Floyd. And that's
tight.
really fun. It's so fun to learn those songs.
Pink Floyd was the first song that I ever, Wish You Were Here was the first song I ever figured out on my own on guitar, like where I didn't need to like go look up tabs online or anything.
Oh, cool.
And it was like
that's
mind-blowingly, yeah, right. I was just like, oh my God, it was such a like aha moment in my life. And it really, yeah. And then I just dove into Floyd.
That's awesome.
I think a lot of people starting music end up in the prog rock area at first, and or at some point at least, you know.
I think
I agree. I
had the exact similar moment where I was playing guitar and I was like, wait a minute, those 2 or 3 chords sounded like Wish You Were Here. And then I went to go check the chord, like, oh, I can do this. This is awesome.
Yeah, because some of the stuff isn't very like everybody thinks prog rock is like every note has to be better than the last one, and you know you're searching for the new sound the whole way through. But it's like some elements of it can be very simple and straightforward and direct, and then you just go into this like 8-minute solo, or you have this, you know, odd time signature that drops in the middle. Like it's more about like defying a conventional songwriting structure than it is about like avoiding simplicity. You know what I mean? And
yeah, that's true. And I don't think everyone necessarily does that on purpose. It seems like, especially with famous prog bands, each band is their own thing because the way that they write and think about music is pretty unique to them. And that's definitely the hardest part about playing in a prog band that doesn't just cover one band, because the style and like even just the mindset you're in to play a Rush song is not the same one you're in if you're playing a Genesis track.
Absolutely.
And there's huge variety in the content of both of those bands. Like, how long was Rush together? Like 40 years? There's so much stuff. I can't remember how long they're together.
And you can tell it's the same with like Pink Floyd and stuff. Like there's so many songs, but like you can tell as the band evolves and as the band progresses, like the songs take on a new shape and a new approach to how like they were being written, and like you can hear the musicians get more comfortable playing with each other as the anthology goes by, you know.
Yeah, it's totally why there's so many tribute bands, because you could just dive into one band and have like so much content. But I think for us, we're not really interested in necessarily dressing up. So we've just kind of done, here's our favorite tracks. And it's nice because now we can do deep cuts. We don't have to do the hits of a band if we don't want to. And
you're playing for you. And that's ultimately what it should be, fun for the people performing, right?
Totally.
So, yeah. So what's like your... Like, would you rather play covers, or would you rather play like songs you've written, or do you care at all? Like, do you have a preference?
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. I find that I'm not always good at realizing how much energy something is going to take. And there's been a lot of times when I've wanted to like learn all these covers and work on them, but then all these ideas for new songs keep coming into my head. So I think it's just a balancing act. But ultimately, if you're playing with fun people, it doesn't really matter if it's a cover or an original, because I've definitely had like fun times and not fun times doing either. It just really depends on the band. So
I think once you have the building blocks of a song, it's like you can do a lot with them, but you need to be on the same page with your bandmates. So as long as you're all on the same page, you can go crazy with it.
I was I was here in my studio like 2 weeks ago, and like I play in a band here, and we sort of like we do wedding gigs and corporate stuff, but we also like will play original music if we book at a bar or something like that. It's a really like it's the same band that plays, and it just sort of changes functions through each gig. But we haven't. It's always songs that like I've written, you know what I mean? If we're going to play originals, and we haven't actually sat down together as a band to really write a song. Not in the same way that like Tom and I used to, or like other bands that I used to do back in Canada. And 2 weeks ago, I finally got to sit down in like my space with my bandmates, and like we're just gonna play music for the day. Like we've got microphones, we've got the gear.
No,
We're just
are you
gonna.
still there?
Oh,
Yep.
can you not see me anymore?
Okay, you're back. You just froze for a second.
It's all good. If I glitch out, we just don't worry about it. Like
Yeah.
we've got it all recording. It's the magic of television will fix it.
perfect.
So
Ian's live from Berlin, so sometimes it doesn't make it over here as quick as it should. But
the internet is. The Germans are good at many things, but the internet is something that's still new. But yeah, like we were for the first time, like I think ever with this band since I've been here, we were able to sit down in a space and just be creative together and see what juices flowed and like there were songs I had sort of been humming in my head that I'd wanted to write for a year or two, and I'd never gotten a chance to actually sit down and work them out, and I was able to explore that, and the same with the other bandmates, and we were all able to give input, and it was just such a like I haven't laughed that hard in such a long time to be able to connect with like-minded people in a free open environment to just explore it. And it's such a critical part of I think being an artist is to be able to explore that part of yourself in a vulnerable way with other people, you know.
Yeah, you don't really realize that what that's like until it happens either. When you first experience what it feels like to be like to feel like really safe around other musicians, you can express so many cool things that it's almost like you just scratched the surface in other contexts. And then yeah.
I really like the word you use there, safe around other musicians, because it's you're always like, oh, are other people gonna like this, or is this maybe too silly or not good enough or whatever? So to be able to just go like, no, this is what I'm thinking, and have other people go, oh, okay, let's see what we can do with it, and it's such a liberating experience. I agree.
I feel like I don't really grow as much unless I'm making mistakes, and I won't make mistakes unless I feel safe around the people that they're going to be cool with me making the mistakes. And then that's
or or like admit them.
Exactly.
I get so shy about saying when I don't know something, and it's just like it's a huge time waster. Like I could resolve and like let's say I don't know a chord in the song, I could just ask, but I'm not gonna do that if I think everyone's sizing me up.
Yeah, right. You don't want to seem like the only one who doesn't know what the hell's going on, right? And that's
Yeah.
And then on the other end, I feel like I took it for granted maybe that I was making so much progress learning in a band. And then when I became sort of a solo artist, I was like, oh, my progress is slowing down. I'm not learning as much anymore. Like, oh, I wish I had those people, that safe jam space again.
You might still be productive, but you're not necessarily learning or growing. You know,
Yeah,
it's
and
not.
the learning is definitely a different way. I'm learning on my own. I'm still reading about music theory and stuff, but I'm not making mistakes and learning from those the way I used to.
Yeah, for sure.
And I find with like with working on music alone versus with a group of people, different people have their own strengths, right? So I'm like, I know exactly what to do if someone brings me a song and they have a plan for it. But if I'm the one that has to be the leader for that song, I have a really difficult time doing that. And it's like, I think just experience in communicating my ideas, but also it's harder for me to like find my own opinion in most scenarios. I have to be alone to do that. So that is an advantage of being away from a band, is you actually get to see what your musical vision would be. Because maybe it's there, it's just a little bit quieter when you're around other people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
exactly. Yeah. And the other thing is, you even if you have that musical vision, and even if you get it on your own and have that, you might still have this like, oh, you know who would be perfect for this thing, or you know who would sing this way better than me, or would really throw a great riff on this, and you almost can end up writing parts for other people because you know what flavor they're going to bring to the table.
Absolutely.
Frank Zappa used to say that he he specifically would hire other musicians, like new musicians, each time he would tour, each time he'd record. Even if he's going to play the same songs as on the last tour, he'd bring in different musicians, because different musicians are going to interpret these chords or these song structures in their own way. And switching the musician out is almost the same as switching the instrument itself out, switching the voicing out. Like, you just get this whole new interpretation of the same piece of art.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah. And I think it's also applicable to, like, we tend to talk a lot about music here because Tom and I are musicians, and a lot of the guests are musicians that we have on this show, but these are things that can apply to any sort of visual artist. Like Tom's much more of a visual artist than I am, but it's very much not exclusive to the field of music or performance art necessarily. It can be any sort of way that you're creating and expressing your soul.
I always think it's funny how I see so many parallels between the different art forms, and even this talk we're sort of having about a safe space and learning and growing and stuff. When I was in animation school, we'd have life drawing classes where you have like a nude model on stage and you have like 20 people around them, all with these big sheets of paper drawing the pictures of them. And that's also kind of like, once you feel that it's a safe space and you start taking risks with what you're drawing and you're not afraid to make those mistakes, it becomes a place where you grow. But until then, you're like, no, I want to do things perfectly. People are going to see this, I want to, it has the exact same parallel between, jamming with musicians or drawing in a room full of artists.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it's essential for creative people to work through like that fear that you're talking about. And I think you can do it when you're practicing if you just record yourself. And it's kind of crappy to listen back to recordings of yourself, but the more you work through that feeling of like, oh, other people are looking at this and listening to it, this is like, it has to be perfect. The more you can move past that, the more fun you're going to have. Like that class sounds like it would be so scary if you didn't know anyone, but then like you're saying, it would probably end up being one of the most fun classes because you're just drawing by the end of your program or whatever.
Just drawing pictures of dicks all day long.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we did in like grade 3, so why not do it in grade 25
I really
years
need
old?
to confirm though, there wasn't just like some naked dude standing there, right? Like,
No. That's a flag. No.
It would be like the back of the math textbook. You'd be like drawing a wiener in the back.
Yeah. Yeah. How many times if I like opened up like maybe grade 3 was the wrong, maybe it's more like grade 6, but how many times do you open up like your textbook and there's just like so many like penis drawings in there? I'm like, wow, who had this last?
yeah, and then they make you write your name in the front of the book too, so you go, oh, it was Derek. Fucking Derek.
Man, everyone's gonna think Olivia drew these. No, I didn't.
Amazing. Oh, that's great. But it's very, like, to go back to what you were saying about it, it's like, do you remember the first time you ever heard your voice after it had been recorded and you hear it back on a speaker and you're like, that's not what I say. Is that what you hear when I speak? That's not what I sound like. And
That's actually a point I wanted to make, yeah.
Yeah, like, it takes so much to even get over that. And then, like, once you get over that, there's even this other moment of like, you're playing guitar on a couch somewhere, like at a party or something, and somebody walks by and it's, oh, you sound really good, and you're like, do I? No, I don't. This was not. Yeah. And you just have to sort of accept that what you're interpreting or your opinion of you is not necessarily, it's not universal. It's not what everybody else's opinion is. It's and you have to sort of have that context before you can really free yourself from that limitation. You have to understand that, like, it's not just because it doesn't sound the way you think it's going to sound, or you can identify a small flaw here and there, that doesn't mean that it's shit, like you can work with that and you can move forward, and each time you perform it, you're going to maybe hit a note a different way or sing a line a different way, but it's still you expressing yourself in that moment and you approaching it from whatever angle you need to approach it from in that instance.
I think everybody for themselves sets a higher bar, like inside, And then when people see what you're doing, they don't know about that bar. So like, oh, that's really good. And you're like, oh, but I'm failing. I'm not achieving what I'm supposed to.
Yeah, you need to have that bar, I think, because otherwise, like, it's hard to get started on anything. Like, but I'm thinking that, like, with recording, it's especially interesting with singing. Like, what you're talking about has happened to me where I've heard my voice and completely hated it.
Mm-hmm.
But it depended on what it was. Like when I was a kid, I just kind of would do like choir concerts or sing with other people and they'd clap after and I'd be like, yeah, of course they would clap. Like we all sang really well together. But it's when I started just singing live with a band, listening to those recordings, that's the one where I just like want to run off a cliff because you can't hear yourself on stage most of the time. There's like no monitor, so you're yelling and it's out of tune and the quality is so bad and like they'll just catch the one time when everyone's slightly out of tune. That to me is like my fear when it comes to recordings is like, is someone at this gig just somehow going to capture like this really real moment?
It's like if you're at a
we
party.
can't edit. Yeah.
It's like if you're at a party and you're talking and then the music stops for like that 1 second and you're like, no, and I'm the only one speaking and everybody just looks at me in that moment and
it's terrible. It's like, why were you filming? Couldn't you have just like danced or something instead? Like
Well, I know for me when I was recording vocals, I definitely didn't like the way I sounded at first, but it's been a very necessary thing to continuously record vocals and adjust my sound a little bit. And I mean, I don't love my sound, but it's definitely better than when I started. And I have like
so
a
cool.
microphone voice now where I'm like not my talking voice.
And you know what to expect now when you go to record. You sort of know what's going to end up on the other side of the recording, so you know how to shape that and how to manipulate that before you even hear it, before you even hear the process version. You're like, no, if I sing it this way, it's not going to come through as if I sang it this way or with this inflection or what have you.
Yeah, so I think everybody has those moments where, you know, they're not as happy and things aren't as good, but everybody has to just trudge through that until they get better.
Yeah. Have you ever had an experience where a song was just genuinely so difficult to sing and it wasn't even for like physical reasons? It was just like the content of the song hit you in a way and then you couldn't get the vocal delivery that you wanted?
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think of the song specifically, but there was... Oh, I know what it was. I wrote that song, actually. Because I wrote my girlfriend a song for Christmas, and it was really... like, I had written the music, and I was really happy about the music, and I was trying my best. It was another one of those, like, oh, this isn't good enough. I need to try harder, and I was too harsh on myself. But I had written... I was trying to write words to go with the music. And I finally settled on something that I was like, this is good. This is acceptable. And like, so this is what I'm going to work with and move forward with. And then I went to do the actual recording of it. It's not even a difficult line. It's not even like they're hard to sing. But I just didn't know how I wanted it to fit. Like in my head, it already fit with the music. But then as soon as I started to sing it, I was like, that's not what's happening up here. That's not how that was supposed to translate in the audio. And it was really, really difficult to sort of have to reimagine that because it wasn't like me covering a song. I couldn't even like copy someone else. It was an idea that I had to refine, and it was really, really tricky to sort of make it fit. We ended up making it work in the long run, but it was, I think ultimately I'm still not 100% thrilled with what ended up. It's on Spotify now, and I don't think I'm 100% thrilled with what happened, but it's at some point you have to sort of walk away and just...
Yep.
This is what's happening. This is what we're working with, you know?
So true.
Yeah. Do you have a moment like this?
No, I've had lots of moments like this, and it seems to be always associated with either original music or whoa, sorry, I don't know if that's too loud, but my neighbor is sitting on his motorcycle in the driveway.
Oh, we can't hear anything. No, you're good.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, no, it happens a bunch with original music, and there's some songs that like I've had the experience of having to stop playing them for a bit just because my voice was like, I'm not ready to sing this even though you wrote it, so sorry.
Yeah.
Come back later.
But yeah, then like 6 months later, you're like, oh yeah, I wrote that, and then you look at it again with like a fresh vision, and it kind of comes out a little easier, a little smoother, or like
Yep.
entirely different than what you had originally done, but better still.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so interesting to just observe how that happens.
Yeah.
I know I've written a few songs where I tried to sing it after, and I was like, this does not sound like how I want it to. Like, I can hear the words in my head going to the chords that I put, but it's not happening, and I have to change the key. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's just I can't sing in that range. It's just not possible.
Sometimes it's that, yeah, or like
Yeah.
if you write something in the studio, as opposed to, like, sometimes I'll pick up a guitar and I'll write a song on the guitar, but other times I will, like, I'm just recording, and the song evolves through the act of recording it. And if I've never had to like perform the song before, if I've only just like written the chords and then written the words and then done it like layer by layer by layer, it becomes really difficult for me to know. Somebody's like, oh, play me that song, and you're like, I don't know how to play you that song yet. I haven't worked out how to do that live in that capacity, and it's a really weird way to it's hard to explain to people who don't play music. It's hard, like, what do you mean you wrote a song, you don't know how to play it? Like, yeah.
Yeah, it
Yep.
happens a lot now with like samples and loops, and just the fact that you can input MIDI in so many different ways. It's very easy to write a song that you can't necessarily pull off live
Yeah.
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, you end up writing a song and then using that as your reference for practicing, then you're like, shit, now I have to go learn it.
Yeah.
So, but Olivia, really quick to get back, this was something I wanted to ask you before, and we ended up going a totally different way, which is great. I'm loving this. But I was wondering, because you play in so many bands and you have all of this experience with working with so many different people in so many sort of different capacities. Do you have like a system for how you find these other people to work with, or how do people just approach you? Is it only friends? Like, do you have a strategy for this, or how did you get so big of a base?
I think it's because I went to music school. So I went to Mohawk College. I actually went to University of Toronto for a year first. I took piano there, and it was really challenging. And just like classical common year. And then I ended up transferring to Mohawk because I really wanted to play bass instead. And I just thought that it would be a better environment for me to learn in. And it definitely was. So I would say almost every gig that I've gotten has just been people that I've met either in Toronto while I was going to school there, or Hamilton when I was going to school here, or it's like through someone from the school.
Yeah, like that network of musicians and
That
stuff.
network. Absolutely. And I think, again, like, I'm lucky because I play bass and sing. So in terms of collaborations, almost every single collaboration, someone has just come to me and asked me to play with them, which is really, really lucky. And I know that's not the case for a lot of musicians. With my own music, though, I find it almost impossible to like know what to do with it. Because I've been able to set up a couple gigs, but in terms of like getting my music on like the radio, I've tried emailing a couple stations and things like that, and my conclusion is that I don't have enough things ready for that. But I have no idea how I will ever do that. Like, I went back to school in January for office administration because it just is such a huge hole in getting work for me. How do I manage this information that's coming in? how can I send an email that sounds professional if these people are getting thousands of emails? And it's cool. Like my classes, they'll just give you like documents and like proofread it. And it's like, whoa, this is intense. This is great. And yeah, just lots of really straightforward skills. Like here's how to do QuickBooks. Like that's cool because I'm self-employed, and just knowing all these things is like, that's really been missing. And I think I'll actually be able to get better work because I went and learned something that wasn't music to pair with music.
Mm-hmm. This comes up so many times when we talk to people. It's like the musicians or the artists, they always, you want to do your art. You want to do like, you want to be the creative entity. But if you're, unless you have like the backing of a label or like corporate sponsorship or something like this, you have to be every role. You have to be your own tax accountant. You have to be your own booking agent, and like all of these other things that you really don't want to do, or a lot of musicians tend to be weaker at these things in general. Like they gravitate to music because they're not business minded or things like this. And it's really, you have to, your weakest skills are the ones you have to spend the most time on. If you're already good at something, you don't need to practice it as much as the stuff that you're, not as good at. So it's really interesting that I like that you've said that, because it just ties, everybody keeps mentioning that, and it's such a common theme that keeps coming up.
And I really like how you were proactive to take a course in like business management and stuff. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, I think that when we're always around artists and musicians, and we know that it's not very fair in terms of making a living doing something that you're good at in the field of art, whatever that means, it's easy to look at people that have conventional jobs and either be jealous or just think that that's unattainable. But there's no reason why you can't have the best of both worlds, in my opinion. Like anything is a set of skills that combines to like an understanding of that thing. So if it's being organized that you are not, then what are the skills that make people organized? And just go learn those. And it will be probably about 10, maybe 20 different steps or little pieces that all fit together. But I don't think it has to be a mystery. I don't know if I would have ever thought this way if I hadn't have gone to school for music first. So that's kind of cool. Like, I think indirectly it brought me here, not just because the job situation is so random and no one knows how it works truly, like when they're starting out, but because when you're studying music, everything you're working on is breaking things apart and putting them back together. And it's not just doing that with like physical items, it's doing it with theoretical items, imaginary items, things that only exist in time. So I think that skill set is really, really useful for anyone in any field. Like I could go into a job that's not music related at all, but I have this really interesting set of skills from music that gives me a huge advantage. I hope more musicians remember that, like the way that they think is useful in a lot of workplaces that will pay you a lot of money. And it's a choice to not be in those workplaces, right?
Yeah.
And so remember why, because it's probably a cool reason. And yeah, went a bit off on that, but
no, it's cool.
Oh, that's totally cool.
So much about it since we've been at home, like alone.
I think that's like my favorite thing to talk about on the podcast is how like things we do in our life are overlapping other things, and how it's all this like cycle of like skills and like outcomes that we want. It's really fun to discuss the circle and travel it all the way.
Absolutely.
My girlfriend has like a desk job. She's got like a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday structure in her life, and I very much don't. I have like the exact opposite of that, and a lot of the times, like, she gets off work on a Friday, she wants to go out, to a patio or go out for the weekend and have some fun, and that's sort of like where my schedule picks up. Like that's where my job is, to entertain those people who are going out to have a good time now. And it's a weird, and it's not every single time, obviously, but like it's such a notable difference from like one structured environment to this like totally chaotic, like I don't know where I'm gonna be in 2 weeks or a month. Like, sometimes you can book a gig a couple of months in advance and you can have like a roadmap, but she's often saying to me like, your schedule is so like how do you thrive in such an inconsistent schedule? And it's just, some people are more built for that structure. I find it keeps my life exciting and stuff. I've tried to do 9-to-5 things, and I'm just, you bang your head against a wall after a point, and
Yeah.
it just works for me,
Yep.
Yeah, I find that I'm like, I do really well with structure. So choosing to be a musician is kind of a funny thing for me.
Really?
Like, yeah. And I get nervous if there's too many plans on a day. So I literally need something in the middle. And I feel lucky that I've been able to create that just by teaching. So having like 3 days or 4 days where I'm always going to meet with this person at this time has helped me have a really happy life. Before I had that, I felt like lost. And I don't think that there's a right or a wrong answer. But yeah, like you're saying, everyone has a different need when it comes to how they work. And yeah, there is a way to find it, but it takes just patience.
Yeah. It's about getting the best out of yourself, right? And whatever
Yeah.
you can do to milk that creativity or productivity, I think, is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, the loose structure life is so important. Like, meet these people this day every week. That's
Yeah.
saved my life, I feel.
I think I also require structure and stuff, and I am working a 9-to-5 job right now, but if I wasn't, I think I would have to do my musical career stuff and wake up and do it 9-to-5 because I need to like wake up at some point, or else I'll just be too lazy and I'll sleep too much. I need to like kind of set an alarm, have a structure to my day. And I can
Have
force that
goals,
structure,
yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. I understand that. It's a very, I don't know, it was really hard with COVID. Like after, in Berlin, it's starting to clear up a little more. Like bars are open and we can gig and all of that. I don't know where you guys are with it,
Yeah.
but it's,
We have our bars open, but not.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we, like when we were planning a tour, literally just before the pandemic hit, we had 6 or 7 bars we were going to. We were calling a bunch more. We were going to go down to the south of Germany and go through a whole bunch of places for like 2 weeks, and they just, all of these places closed, and there was no point in continuing to email other bars because it was just, everything was drying up. And now that things are open, I wanted to sort of pick up where we left off and get back to that, and it was really hard to find the motivation to do that. Because like I've just spent a year not doing anything, basically, just like sitting on ass. I've written some songs, I've done some recordings and some work, but like in terms of booking and being productive in that capacity, I basically took a year off from it, and it was really, really hard to just sort of talk myself into resuming that and getting that ball rolling again. But once I did, like once I finally found, the drive to do it, the ball started rolling, and that was the motivation to keep pushing the ball. Like, oh, okay, no, we've got things happening. I really should just, keep on the racetrack, keep on the horse, And yeah, but I guess I think it's not necessarily something that everybody has their own approach to these things.
Yeah, I believe that consistency will, like, it's an element that needs to be consistent in some way. So maybe what's consistent is just the variety and like that ball that's rolling that you're talking about, that's actually the consistent part, and it just doesn't look like it to others, but it does to me. Like there's always going to be an aspect of pursuing random events in my life too. Like I would love to do that more often. I just know that I'm not confident enough to do it right now. It's not that way for everyone, but for me, I know that it's because I'm not that confident. that I can't wake up like and just alone be like like just completely freelance. I'm not ready to do that. I might never have to. Like, I don't really know what my music's going to need or what I need, really. So,
well, also if you're working with other people, right? Like, it can be very, if someone else is taking these responsibilities for you, then you don't have that pressure to do it, right? Like, I'm the one who's in charge of doing that for my band. So it's also that added pressure of like other people are relying on me for this. So it gives that extra motivation and extra drive. But if somebody else is sort of assuming that role, then it can be very easy to not have to develop this skill, or if you don't want to, there's no real need to pursue it in that way, right? So.
Oh, that's a great point. Great point. Other people make it better.
Yeah.
It's true. I think maybe I just need a team and then we'll be unstoppable.
Exactly.
You have a team.
I kind of do. I have an amazing band, but they're just a little bit far away right now. They're not that far. They're in Toronto. So, but
It's
not
so
too
far from
bad.
Hamilton. Yeah.
not that far. Yeah.
So we're coming up on our. We're gonna have to call time soon, but we we always liked. I really want to say before we get to this that this has been a wonderful conversation.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like. Thank you so much for being here and talking to us, because this has been just great, and yeah, but we always like to assign homework at the end of our episodes, and we like, because the viewers come from so many different backgrounds and come from so many different they have so many different goals or so many different approaches, and so we like to give people something that they can try at home to to help push themselves a little further and grow. It's all about growth and development. So do you have any homework that you can recommend? I think you were talking to us before we started recording. We were talking about writing sonnets and doing extra work. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your sonnets real quick before?
Sure. So I, for some reason, I think, just for fun, I started making little games for myself to just get myself writing. I've found that journaling has been a really, like, exceptionally good thing for me throughout my life. But there's something about having to do it every day that is not that appealing to me. However, if I make a challenge for myself, it's only like a week or 2 week commitment, which is kind of cool. So one example of this is I was like, what the hell is a sonnet? So I just got the formula for it, and then I made a challenge to write 14 of them. And now I have 14 sonnets, and it was really fun to do. And yeah, I've done others, like another one, let's see. I have a challenge going on right now that's 365 days of changing my mind. So I don't do this every day, but I'm collecting 365 kind words to myself. So the first one is I have to tell myself why I'm beautiful. I have to tell myself why I create amazing music. I have to tell myself why I'm a great musician, and I have to tell myself why I'm a person that's worth knowing. Which is cool. Kind of insane to say out loud, but it's been really helpful. Right now, let's see what number I'm on. I'm on 164. So
amazing. Congrats.
Thank you. It's cool to just like have a really small thing to do that is just growing over time. And I also did this with band bios. So I now have 14 different band bios, and some of them are insane. Like, I wouldn't necessarily post it on a website, but I like having it because
like for different bands or for like
for my band. Yeah, maybe let's see if I can find one to. Oh, here's the page. So here's an example. This band is known for bringing emotions like nostalgia, hope, joy, and optimism to people's lives. If you are ever on the fence about listening to what is going on over here, just remember that you never know if you don't go.
Cool.
So that's
like
one of my bios that I have like a lot of them. No. Yeah, I would recommend doing that to people because it's a good
Very
time.
smooth.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
like the writing
Yeah.
assignments idea.
Yeah. Just set a goal for something that you're maybe not comfortable with and not yet familiar with, and just do more of them and improve yourself in that capacity. Not even necessarily to improve, but just to get them out, just to prove you can do them, you know?
Yeah, you don't even have to do something as epic as like 300 of something. You could just do 10 or 5 of something. And then when you're done with it, you could even just delete it or burn it or print it and save it. Like there's no limit on what you can or can't do with your finished product. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess
And
the
it's-
homework is a writing challenge. Should we add a little bit more rules to it? I like that it's open ended and that it can be like like 5 to 7 something, whatever.
I quite like finding a number, but I think we should also give a deadline. Like over the course of 1 month, pick a number, 10, 15 things, whatever the viewer thinks is reasonable or within their skill set, but find something that you're not necessarily the strongest at, whether it's writing a band bio or whether it's playing a new instrument or painting with a new style. Like if you usually do oil paintings, maybe you try something in the area of watercolors or charcoal or sketches.
Yeah, or if you want to challenge yourself with writing, you could try to do a sonnet or a haiku or any other sort of like
Yeah.
but just
writing with
something something that is exactly with rules, something that has its own inherent structure that you're not familiar with yet, that you're not necessarily, that isn't your given medium. And over the course of a month or 2 weeks, try to get 5, 10, 20, whatever number you set for yourself is reasonable. I am going to try to write 5 piano songs over the course of the next month. Not necessarily lyric songs, but like 5 actual movements on the piano.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, and I will see what I can do in that, because I play a little bit of piano, but it's very much not my strongest instrument. And yeah, and I've been meaning to practice more piano, so I think songwriting on the piano, just in terms of movement, that's what I'm going to try to do. 5 over the course of the next month.
I also like the point about like writing some good things about yourself, though, because it reminds me of whenever you want to do something as an artist, you kind of have to have an elevator pitch ready. Somebody's like, why should I let you play? Why should you be in this festival? What, And you always have to be, this is why I'm good. Like, you need to have those ready, like on...
That's actually, I think, a way better one than what I had just suggested. So I think we should go with the every day for, you want to say a month? Every day for the next month, pick one new thing each day that is a positive thing about yourself or your art, what you do, and one positive reassurance to yourself every day.
That's kind of where I was going with this. I liked that idea of like writing bios, writing good things about yourself, and having those ready. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write like 10 to 15 things about my musical career that are good and reasons that people should let me play and listen to my stuff, and hopefully
I would say that there are 2 things that have made these challenges really effective for me. So the first one is that the first challenges I did were extremely small, so they were really easy to complete. Like they would be as simple as write like 1 sentence. Right? And so that there's no disappointment built into the challenge. And the second thing that's made it effective is that you don't have to do it every day, because I was having a lot of issues with like me forcing myself to do work. So I made these challenges as like an experiment to just let myself trust myself more. And like when it's complete, it will be complete. So the challenge would be called like 14 days of writing a sonnet, but I don't have to write it every 14 days.
Yeah.
But I do put the sonnet, I put it as an item on my list, and I put it like in a really obvious place so I can see it. And you don't even have to finish the full sonnet in one sitting. Lastly, I didn't have to show anyone. Like, I think you guys are the first people I may have, I don't know, but I don't think I've told many people about the 365 days thing.
You know this is
because-
going on the internet, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Like, that people know about it now, but the fact that it was such a private process made it really successful too. Like, I didn't have to show anyone. So I think that the writing the songs thing could be really epic, but just know that if you have a day where you don't feel like doing that, it's okay. You're still winning the challenge.
Cool. I like that. I like that no pressure approach to it. It's okay. This is good.
It's for fun. It's homework, but like it can still be a good time, you know?
And I really like how you said
self-assigned homework.
it's like 14 days of a challenge, but it doesn't have to be 14 consecutive days of a challenge. You can pick wherever you want in the month to put those days.
Yeah, you don't have to beat yourself up. Like if you wake up and you're sick or you want to go see your grandma, like just go do that.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes sometimes life gets in the way and you get busy, right? So you have to really allow for those eventualities, right?
It's a loose commitment that you will, like, you are committed, you will accomplish it, but it's like a new kind of structure. So you get that consistency, but that freedom at the same time.
100%. It's like the open relationship of homework. It's
yeah.
So I really want to just say thank you one more time, Olivia, for coming on, because this has been great.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people really quick before we say goodbye, where can we find you? Where can we check out your stuff?
Yeah, we'll throw the links up all over the page here.
Oh, sure.
Just list them out.
Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's really cool to talk to you guys, and I appreciate you took this time to visit me. That's cool.
100%.
My band has a YouTube page. It's just youtube.com/Junestone. We're on Instagram. I have 2 accounts. There's Junestone Olivia or Junestone Official. I'm the person behind both of them, and I don't know why there's 2. I guess there's more random things on the Olivia one because it's not necessarily official Junestone. But there's good stuff on both of those pages.
Cool.
Amazing.
Finally, there is a Twitter, which I don't know how to use Twitter at all. So there will be some dumb tweets on there, but they're not like, it's, yeah. I tried to tag
definitely the one I'm checking out
before,
then now.
and I didn't know how to do it, and I don't know if you ever saw it. And anyway, it's fine.
Amazing, though. That's like you said, if you don't know how to do it, that's the thing you got to start doing then. That's, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's fun.
It's cool. I have a Neon
right.
Tom Twitter I don't use. I'll join. We can be
Yes!
Twitter friends who don't know how to
yeah.
use Twitter. It's cool.
Neon-
I've got a Moose Johnson Twitter that I have no context for either. That's
All right.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just like, I think we need this. We're all musicians. We should get this.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
told me this would be relevant to my career when it came out, and
Yeah. Like, I don't really
Yeah.
use it, but I got it.
amazing.
I will totally tweet this podcast when
Yeah.
it's published.
Thank you very much.
I can follow you guys on that.
Awesome.
We've got an Instagram account. We don't have Twitter, but we have an Instagram, and we've got a YouTube channel that we're setting up so that
Yeah.
everybody can check this stuff out consistently.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
there is an artist under construction Instagram, and you will be on it very soon.
100%.
Cool.
Yeah.
Arguably in like an hour, because we're going to post this stuff.
Yeah, we tend to put pictures.
Sweet.
Yeah. But
Very cool.
yeah, so that's unfortunately all the time we have for today. So we're gonna let
That's
you
all
go, and we're gonna say goodbye to everybody. But I just want to say thank you one last time to Olivia Brown from Junestone for coming on and being an awesome guest.
Yeah,
And
thanks,
thank
Olivia.
you to the audience for watching, because you know we do this for you guys. We hope that you're having as much fun as we are.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. I've been Neon Tom.
I've been Moves Johnson. Guys, remember to like and subscribe to Artist Under Construction.
Yep. And Junestone and Junestone Olivia and all of the good things that we've posted on screen for you.
100%.
That's right. That's right.
Like and subscribe below. We love you. Thank you for watching.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, there you
All
go.
the hearts.
We will-
All the hearts are for you
Those
guys.
hearts.
Love it. All right, we'll see you guys next time. But until then, goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
2 1 1 2 1 2 1 1 2.
Thank you.